You don't actually think the media is going to tell the truth on tariffs, do you? You don't believe this anymore, do you? I hope not. Anyway, let's go into this because every time you ask, hey, what happened when Trump put tariffs on steel in 2018? Every time you're going to hear, oh, they raised prices, and we'll show you how it raised prices. Just look at the Peterson Institute, every single person here. Right here, the Peterson Institute says steel profits gain under Trump's protectionism, but steel users pay. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Peterson Institute. Huh, where have I heard that name? Oh, yeah, Pete Peterson, this guy right here. Oh, Pete Peterson. What the hell did he ever do? What did he ever do? Well, here's the funny thing was he was actually kicked out. So he went from working for his dad, who was a Greek immigrant, to somehow going to MIT. It's kind of weird, but okay. His dad was a Greek immigrant in Kearney, Nebraska, is probably a legend, and his son worked for him a little bit. But then his son just magically went to MIT, almost like he's selected. But he was kicked out for plagiarizing a term paper in his freshman year. But he ended up enrolling in Northwestern University. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And then he ended up joining a market-based research firm. And then he finally graduated with an MBA from the University of Chicago. And then he became CEO of what? Lehman Brothers until 1984. Then he became the founder of Blackstone Group. And he also became chairman of the Council for Foreign Relations. Wow, this guy, and who was preceded by David Rockefeller, and then he was succeeded by Robert Ruin. These are the freaking anti-American scumbags that you can possibly imagine. Somehow, this regular guy from immigrant parents who did nothing other than found these private groups here became one of the four richest American people in the United States. The whole thing is just freaking, it's like Joe Biden, essentially. All right, so that's the Peterson Institute, the founder. So who is the current president of the Peterson Institute? Let's take a look here. Oh, let's take a look. It's going to be this scumbag, and I bet this guy's knee deep in the Epstein list. Look at him. You imagine that guy being around your daughter? Anyway, so Adam Posen, Woke Capital for Social Justice. Woke Capitalist for Social Justice. All right, so what does he say here? This guy says, Adam Posen, the current president of the Peterson Institute, says a focus on domestic manufacturing is simply a fetish for keeping white males with low education in the powerful positions that they are. So that's the Peterson Institute. And let's just take a gander at the Peterson Institute board of directors, shall we? It's a who's who of globalist scumbags. Larry Summers, oh, that's kind of crazy. We're going to see Caroline Atkinson, former deputy to Barack Obama, National Security Advisor. Oh, that's interesting. We're going to see, who else do I want to show you? Oh, Roger Ferguson from TIA Craft. We got BlackRock, Peter Fisher, some dude from BlackRock. A couple Greenbergs in here. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Let's see who else is in here. Another Citigroup person, BlackRock people. Oh, that's great, man. This is fantastic. Another investment firm. Okay, that's good. Morgan Stanley. Oh, these guys are great. They love America. No, they not. Yes, they do. They're just all. Laura Tyson, who, if memory serves, was the Council for Economic Advisors under Clinton. This guy, Robert Zoellick, who was a U.S. trade representative under, I think it was Bush. I can't remember. They're all scumbags. And Greenspan is the honorary directors. Carla Hills, who succeeded old scumbag Pete Peterson of the Council for Foreign Relations. I mean, this is just former president of Mexico. Anyway, these guys are freaking clowns. Anyway, so let's go back to why I laugh at this, because we're going to show you something here. On March 23rd, 2018, the Trumpster, the GOAT, imposed a 25% duty on nearly all steel imports. Okay, that's good. All steel imports, I like. The administration acted under a dubious premise, national security. It's very dubious, was it not? But the argument that new restrictions could be imposed cost-free is dubious. Well, that's a straw man. No one's ever making that argument, you freaking scumbags. But calculations show that Trump's tariffs raised the price of steel by nearly 9%, steel products by 9%. All right, interesting. He says, yes, they did increase profits to steel firms in the United States at $2.4 billion, but it cost the users $5.6. So basically, for every dollar of profits, it costs them about $1.60 in cost to you and I, supposedly. And then they'll say right here, steel imports covered by temporary trade barriers 100% in 2018 because the GOAT made them. But he said total steel imports billions of dollars. You can see the prices are going. They'll make the argument the price went up because of this imports because of the tariffs. That's what they'll make the argument for. All right. And they're going to use this idiotic argument here, right here. At the time Trump's tariffs are imposed, multiple anti-dumping and countervailing duty actions had already restricted imports on individual steel products from identified countries. The penalty duties probably had some effect in raising the U.S. producer prices above U.S. import prices. So U.S. producer prices is in the blue, above import prices right here. That's scientific. The penalty duties probably had some effect in raising average U.S. producer prices. But Trump's tariffs and quotas decisively lifted U.S. producer prices. All right, so you can see, look at that. So U.S. producer prices were above import prices, but then Trump's data definitely did it there. Probably decisively did it there, because you can see the rise. This is import prices in the red. This is producer prices in the blue. And you can see Trump's decisively raised the prices, but before that, probably did, but we don't know. And it is so they don't see. Wait. So raise the price. Wait, what's this right here? Interesting. What's that right there? A little bit of a leveling off and kind of going down. They're going to say right here, the higher U.S. prices reflect both the stronger economy, which boosted world steel prices, and the additional impact on Trump's tariffs. Interesting. The data underlying figure 1, which I just showed you, shows that 53% of U.S. steel prices increase can be attributed to the general rise in world prices, and the remaining 47% to Trump's tariffs and quotas. Interesting. So they're saying the data underlying this right here of this massive, decisive increase in Trump's prices can be 47% is attributed to Trump's tariffs. Interesting. How much more will steel firms pay owing to Trump's gift to steel firms? Or steel using firms pay owing to Trump's gift to steel firms? The preceding arithmetic suggests that U.S. steel prices will be 8.9% higher in 2018 than in 2017, thanks to tariffs and quotas. Interesting. So let's take a gander and see if they're right. Reuters, of all places. Dateline March 11, 2025. What happened the last time Trump imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum? Interesting. Prices did rise at first. Both aluminum and steel prices have been increasing in the first years of the first Trump administration, but the anticipation and subsequent imposition of the tariffs on those metals caused their domestic prices to pop up more dramatically. U.S. steel prices rose 5% in the month after the tariffs, and aluminum 10%. All right, let's take a look here. Tariffs phased in right there. What? What's this? What? U.S. prices went up when they were phased in, and then they went down? This is even before the pandemic. And the pandemic disruptions, they're going to blame that on Trump's tariffs. So the prices on steel went up initially, and then they went down significantly. We're all talking almost a 50% decline. Aluminum went up. That's interesting. So, by the way, it wasn't until May of 2019 we got rid of the extra tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and yet by then the prices had already gone well below where they were even before the tariffs were incorporated. Aluminum prices were well below where they were before then too. After only a few months, U.S. aluminum prices began to fall, soon followed by the price of domestic steel. Interesting. The prices had decreased more slowly than they had risen, especially for steel, which had been tariffed at 25%. U.S. steel did not return to its pre-tariff price until January 2019. January 2019, the U.S. steel price returned to its pre-tariff price, even though the tariffs were still implemented. Metal production picked up. The falling prices for aluminum and steel were in part thanks to domestic production of aluminum and steel picking up. Compared with 2017, the U.S. increases production of steel by 6 million metric tons. And aluminum output by 350,000 metric tons. Tariffs can encourage U.S. steel and aluminum producers to ramp up capacity or restart idle plants. This is what some guy from South Carolina said, which is exactly what happened with Alcoa. They started their idle plants. U.S. production increases with tariffs. Look at that, right? You can see with your own eyes. A 2019 Federal Reserve study estimated that higher input costs from the 2018 tariffs reduced manufacturing costs, or jobs, relative to what would have been without the tariffs. But that's an estimate because we see right here alone, in fact, we can go to the Federal Reserve to see the price of steel. The price is going down. Price is going significantly. So to say these increased input costs, it's just not true. You can see the input costs went down. And as such, the input costs go down. The Federal Reserve estimate that you'd lose jobs. I mean, here's this professor. Higher input costs, both higher prices for consumers and reduced output. It just did not happen, didn't it? The input costs went down. The estimate that higher input costs from 2018 tariffs reduced manufacturing jobs relative to what it would have been without tariffs and raised production costs for metal-based goods. Well, the input costs did not pan out there, Federal Reserve. Interesting. Anyway, the point being is the input costs of that. If the price of steel and aluminum were to consider the input costs, they absolutely did not go up for long. They went up for a couple months, they went down. Just how do you argue that? The numbers are the numbers, man. So you can estimate all day long. If the input costs are high, the number of jobs out that would be lost. But that's not what happened in reality. The input costs went down as the prices went down. So if on the converse, that if input costs are low, that means more jobs because there's less cost to basically build your products. And that's exactly what happened with the tariffs. At some point, the input costs, pretty quickly actually, went below where they were pre-tariffs. So the Federal Reserve study, if they're saying at the end of the day the input costs remain high, well, they're just wrong, dude. It's just wrong. I'll read the study because I just find it funny. Anyway, the point being is actually no one really knows. It's very interesting. We haven't had this experiment for, centuries, decades about tariffs. Reagan put a tariff on the Japanese imports, 100% of Japanese semiconductors, 100%. And then he threatened big time in 1981 to put imports tariffs on Japanese cars as well. Trump did a little bit of steel. Biden did not change tact at all. And we have small potato stuff, but not across the board. So I'm very excited to see how this shakes out because everyone and their mom's like, smooth Hawley, Trump's tariffs. I'm like, there's other evidence that goes against that. So I hope Trump sticks with it because I'd like to see how this shakes out because it could be wonderful. It might not be. I don't know. But these guys just lie because they're scumbags, dude. I hate lying scumbags. Just tell the truth, dude. Just tell the truth. Even if you're wrong, tell the truth, Adam Posey, you scumbag. All right, God bless. Love your thoughts.